Welcome to season 2 of Just the Tip. This is coming out a little late. I didn't want it to be this late, but um, family stuff, and I needed to relax after writing 21 stories in 21 days and nearly killing myself doing it. This first one, we're kind of reintroducing this idea of Just the Tip, and this one is called The Fantasy. So, the question I pose are storytellers, novelists, and writers in general, are they artists or are they dreamers or are they both? So let me, let, we're all storytellers. That's the basic concept. When you get home from your day of work, you relate what happened to you that day. When you're relating um, an opinion you have, typically we put it in story form. There's a reason why we hold those opinions. We all tell stories. We all recognize stories, and that's why, in general, we can tell a good movie from a bad movie or a good novel from a bad novel, is because we've spent our entire lives communicating through story. That's what we do. So understand that storytellers are artists. We paint pictures with words. And I don't say writer because writers could be um, technical writers or nonfiction writers or or just manual writers, white paper writers. There's or journalists. Well, that most of that's fiction nowadays. But that being said, though we still relay information in stories, we still have that format that we as a one-on-one individual basis, we tend to speak to each other in story form. And so, from an early age, we tend to recognize good storytelling techniques with our ear. What is the fantasy? Well, the fantasy is to write for a living and not have to go into work. But the reality is that in a world populated with almost 9 billion people, that a sliver of a fraction of a decimal of people are successful and able to do that. So when you start writing, write for yourself, write for your friends, um, enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, there's no point in doing it because most likely you're never going to make a dime doing it. It's just the way it is. There are tremendous and great writers out there who couldn't get the attention of a publisher even if they paid them. And sometimes people do. That's what agents are for. So, just to reiterate, in this tip, if you want to write, write. Just do it. You're a storyteller. You've always been a storyteller. And you just didn't know it. So, if you want to achieve the dream, writing for a living, and I kind of do still, but I can live without it because I enjoy it. I love it. It helps me get things off my chest. It helps me become a more low and even tempered person. And I get my ideas, even the ones I didn't really think I had. The imagery that's flowing through here as I relate this information to you, just off the cuff, um, are titles that I grew up reading. And I just want you guys to be aware that all these people started out exactly where you are if you want to learn how to write. If you've never written a word in a story in a way that you meant to do, like if you sit down and format your mind and get ready in front of a blank screen or a have a pencil in your hand with a notebook or any way you want to record your story, it's hard. It's really, really hard, but no, by no means impossible. So writing isn't hard or difficult in the way that learning to do tech or manual labor or digging ditches is hard. It's hard because you want to tell the truth. You want to give people a story with realistic characters, not Mary Sue's. We're not talking about Star Wars, not something just cobbled together to prove a point. Most of the time, when you write, you won't even know what point you're trying to prove or information you're trying to relay because you're trying to entertain. And that's what it's really about, right? Our subconscious will give us those points. And sometimes the idea is the point. But you still have to build that narrative and that exposition and the action and characters around that idea so that it's organic and it's not forced. So, what's the dream? What's the fantasy? In this episode of Just the Tip, I'm just going to give you the tip. The fantasy is to write, and that's what I'm doing. And I can't thank this fellowship of YouTubers and Twitter followers and just good folks who support me, who allow me on their streams, who really give me the time of day for most of my stories, which I believe are mediocre. I'm kind of a perfectionist that way. So until next time, this is Just the Tip with StoryMan-Jack, and I appreciate you, each and every one. Thank you. And remember, your story is the most important one you'll ever tell. Make it a good one.